Hey everybody, we're live. Thanks for checking out another stream. This is week 37 of me building an OS Windows 10 type clone of Thingamajig in the browser using TypeScript, React, that kind of thing. Thank you if you're checking me out again. Thanks if you're checking me out for the first time. Thanks if you're watching in general, actually. If you're liking the videos I'm making, if you like this video, please throw me a like on it. If you want to support me, you want to motivate me, you want to keep up on what's going on, do a subscribe as well. Subscribe to me. And I think there's like a little bell icon you could click so you know about my latest things, but I never mentioned that really. Um, Once again, powered by Red Bull. I bought a 4-pack a couple weeks ago, so I'm still working through these. I just do just once a week, just during the streams. I Red Bull up so that I have enough energy to present to you folks. And yeah, we're here for another one. Let's start off as we typically do with a quick little speed demo here. This is what it looks like at the moment. You got the animated desktop. We got our file explorer working. We got our right-click menus. We got it all. We got our editor now. That doesn't work yet. We got a lot of stuff, There's still stuff to go, as you can see from this post-it notes over there. But there's a lot that we've done, as you can see from the post-it notes over there. And I actually didn't even start doing post-it notes until months into the project. So if I had been doing post-it notes from the start, I think there would have been a heck of a lot more. Anyways, I don't want to go too deep into what it is. Let's just dive into what we're changing this week. We got our branch that I do in between the week where I kind of play around in my evenings, trying to figure out some stuff, fixes, that kind of thing. And we'll figure out how to apply these commits as we go. Some of them I might just do patches. Some of them I might look directly at the file changed after all these 38 commits, sorry. But yeah, let's just start at the start. I think for the most part we'll follow the commits because it kind of tells a story and we can tell the story together and try to figure out what the heck I was trying to do. Let's start with the first one here. So we got this Monaco, that's the text editor. The IDE, the Integrated Development Environment. It's not really an IDE at this point. I would say it's a very advanced text editor because it has some pretty cool features. But as you can see right here, there's no hook, and the index is a app all by itself instead of being one of the components, such as TinyMC also is not a component container. Well, I have this other concept here. If you look at the JS-DOS app, container component, where I pass the ID of the process, I pass the hook, and I pass the styled component. And then with those three pieces, I kind of make an app based on that. And for some reason with Monaco and with TinyMC, I didn't do that. So we're going to do that now because I have done it in these commits here. This is the one where I did it for Monaco, and TinyMC must be somewhere in here. Yeah, here we go. There's the TinyMC one. So we'll get to those today. And I see here I got a message from Tommy Hetrick saying, hello, Dustin. Hey, Tommy. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate the support. If you got messages you want to throw in live chat, please feel free. For anybody, of course. And if you're seeing this after the live stream, then throw it whatever you want in the comments. It's always welcome and appreciated. So yeah, let's get to the first one here. Like I said, this will evolve. These commits are going to evolve through the episode because I kind of did the hook here and then I find bugs throughout. And I mean, even this, it's not done yet. I still have a million things I want to do to the Monaco editor. But let's start with moving it into a hook. And to do that, I'm going to take this and I'm going to make it into a patch. Like so. There we go. I don't like saving it with this .txt, but that's what I get. Switch back to the code. Let me close all this stuff in my way here. Open up a new terminal, and then we're going to do git apply c/users/Dustin/desktop/ the name of the commit, whatever the heck it was. This one here. There we go. Patch that in, and then right away we'll get to see our diff here. So it was just Monaco changes. Looks like let's start at the index and see. As you can see, it's a ton of red because I've moved stuff out. We'll just look at the first part here. So yeah, like I said, it's a ton of red. Now it's just a container component here. So I pretty much took the whole thing out. Luckily, it was a simple one. But what I like about doing this too is it kind of splits up the concerns. So now we don't have to worry about applying that. We don't have to worry about this little piece. Those are pieces that are controlled by the container component, which is this pretty simple component anyways. And then the hook is probably just going to be, yeah, it's pretty much just verbatim that logic that was in the index here. This piece here. Looks like I changed it a little bit. I changed the loading. How did I change it here? Create model. Oh, right. Yes, I did have to change it because before the way that it was set up was using the Monaco editor React component here, using its editor component. So I was very simply just doing it here, and then I had an on mount hook. But I've had to switch to a different method that they recommend, which is using this Monaco. You do the loader again. I had the loader before for doing the config. It was right here where I would explicitly set the config. Now I've migrated those config paths to a config file. And then here in the hook, yeah, I had to switch from using that that editor component that was provided by the library to instead going loader init, and then I get passed back a Monaco instance, and from there I can say editor I want to create based on a container. So that's where I like with all these apps that I use to try to and that's what I'm doing here actually. Once we get Monaco and TinyMCE, then all of my apps that fit in Windows are these container apps. So it's essentially like, give me a styled component, give me a hook, and I'll put it all together for you. And then in all these cases with these libraries, they're basically just give me a HTML element and I'll figure it out. And Monaco is no different. So this is the only difference in the syntax then. It's this create model where you pass in the value, which is the content of the file, the language here, and the URL. And I had to set this automatic layout to be true for auto resizing to work. That wasn't as part of this, but when I dived into the editor itself, I realized that they were using that because that was one piece that was missing. But this piece is, I think, the same. Yeah, I didn't change anything else. And on that note, the patch has been applied, so let's try it out. So in theory, basically just Monaco should still work. Yeah, it does. What about this? Let's try to drag the patch on and then open it in Monaco. The new patched Monaco. There we go, yeah. So this is now a container component, and it works just the same. We aren't at the point yet where we have proper language detection, but that is going to be in another commit that I've got, where I fix every file extension to properly automatically detect the language, I think. Although it might not actually matter for .patch, I'm not sure. We'll see about that. One step at a time. So I think that commit was simple enough. I don't want to really change that. I mean, I want to change it, but I already have changed it. So let's accept that as the base one. Pretty much all it was, like I said, was just getting rid of that editor component and instead using the loader init, which is exactly what they recommended on their thing. And I still need the library for the loader, which is actually, I think, is part of this Monaco/loader, but I'm not sure. Yeah, do you get anything with this? Well, whatever. It works as is. I'm keeping this library. This is useful. So, and also it's lazy loaded, so it doesn't really add to the main binary. Move Monaco to hook/container. Yes, I did. So that's going to be our first big commit, and then let's also keep the show notes open here that I've got, and I'm going to note my first show note. And as you see this episode, we're going to make a photo viewer. And the photo viewer we're going to use is basically the same one that is on my Windows 10. I literally just took a photo that I wanted to be on my website, opened it in my Windows thing, and whatever it opened in, I mean, luckily it opened in an app I liked. If it had opened in something I didn't have, or like let's say it opens in Photoshop, I'm not going to recreate Photoshop, but it opened in just the basic Microsoft photo viewer, which is the one I like. It's my default. And so I tried to recreate that one a little bit, you know, not every single button, but I could have recreated every button, but honestly, I just didn't because some of them I don't like. I mean, if every button was a feature I wanted, then sure, I'll recreate them. But if it's for things I don't want, then maybe I'll add it to the wall as like phase 4, you know, stretch goal. Anyways, so we've done that commit. Let's move back to the commit history and see what the next thing is. So the next thing was a bug that I noticed from last episode where, let's see if I can recreate it because I remember what it was now. So basically, if I open here, and then I think when this goes to open, if I click documents, it's fine. But if I opened it really fast and click documents, there we go, we'd get red. And the reason for that was some kind of race condition that I fixed. Let's check what that patch was. So I added a use effect to clear the timer on exit. So this is when the sidebar component disappears, it should clear the timer. Otherwise, right. So that was triggering. All right. So when you open the start menu, it would trigger mouse enter that if 700 milliseconds from now, it would. Wait, what the heck does this do? I think the issue is that this doesn't occur. Because here in mouse leave, I have a clear timer. And basically, I just moved this line into a function that I call in two places now. So here, when the mouse is leaves, I clear the timer. But also, if all of a sudden the component just disappears, this mouse enter timer was still running. And after 0.7 seconds, it would try to trigger set collapsed, which is the state. But the component's gone. So that was causing this error here where it says can't perform a React state update on an unmounted component. So that's the basics, and it's something to watch out for whenever you're starting timers that can all of a sudden not work out. You know, if the timer is doing something with the dispatch, you got to watch out for that. I'll just do another patch here. I'm getting fond of these patches, getting a little bit better at them. At their speed. Switch back to the console. I think we had open here, and I'll just type the other one in. One thing that's crazy to me, I don't know if it's just the way I set up Windows. When I download something on Chrome, it saves to my desktop, but literally my desktop does not update to show it. I have to right-click my desktop and press refresh to see it. I don't know why. So weird. Like that, to me, my website is better than Windows 10 at doing that thing. But I think it's some rare thing that it must be somehow my setup, because it just can't be the way that it is normally for everybody. Okay, so I've explained this commit. Let's see if it fixed the issue. So now when I open a window really fast, we should not get an error. So boom, boom. Oh, I missed it. That might not have even caused it. Let's try again. Boom, boom. Yeah, there we go. That was so quick that the timer would have executed after the start menu was gone. And there was no error, so there you go. That proves it. Only if you believe my story there. No error on quick exit of sidebar. Yeah, let's commit that. Write that in our show notes that I almost always sync up, but sometimes I forget. Which is quite often, honestly. Close this one, and let's move on to the next one. Fix dragging previously focused item. What was the issue here? Oh, right. This was another wonkiness, I think, that I noticed. Oh, I wanted to demo this. So let's say we're in the documents folder here. Let's make a new text document and a new rich text document. So watch, I drag this, and then I drag that. You see it made a copy of it. It still had the other one selected, basically. And looks like the fix was extremely simple. I'm just going to actually do the fix just by looking for it here. So focused entries. It involved the focused entries. And in this case, it had to do with the one that was checking the length here for 0. So the issue is when you click another icon, the focused entry icon hasn't cleared yet. Kind of, because there's a blur here that occurs that clears all the rest and then focuses the new thing you clicked. But this focused entries array hasn't yet updated to that blur where it cleared things. So it can still have the previous entry. But what I've changed that to, instead of equals 0, I put less than or equal to 1. So if the length is 1, then the entry... Wait, does that make any sense? So before, if it was 0, it would join. Now if it's 1... Ah, yes, okay. So it's saying here, if there's only one focused entry, then I might as well just use file, because it's supposed to be the one you just clicked. In this case, the focused entry might be the thing you clicked before. That's okay. I just want to know that the amount of focused entries is less than 2. Because if it's 2, then we'll do this, where we map the focused entries. And in that case... I wonder if in that case we'd have to add file. There could be a case for that. If this is old data, then this won't be focused necessarily. So if I were to Let's test something out there. Let's move these three things back. Refresh, open up the documents folder. So what was the theory? Oh, that didn't even move? I wonder if that's related to the problem I was just thinking about. Okay, that time it moved. So let's try the theory here. My theory was if there's two items, so I focus on these two and I drag them. But now when I drag this one, that worked. I think is it a 2 and 2 thing? No. Oh, because then it would have been the one item. No. Well, you know, until I find another bug, I'm not going to theorize if this is wrong. I know that this, let me save this. This fixed the issue that I was just showing earlier. Let's just try it again. Although I wonder what happened with that dragging 3 items that didn't work. Let's try that too. Because if I'm not crazy, I mean, I could be crazy, but let's just check here. Click, click, click. I dragged 3. And then let's refresh here. Okay, it moved all 3. So let's go back to that thing I was trying before. I took this one, and then I tried dragging another one. There we go. Now it drags the correct ones. I don't know what the other thing was, or I dragged 2, and then I drag another 2? That actually worked as expected, though. What if I drag 1, and then I drag 3? Oh, there we go. We got a copy. So wait. Well, I found another bug because there's some illogicalness here, but I'm just going to note it for next time. Also, why is there so much spacing here? Oh no, that's a reasonable amount. It's supposed to be there. It just looks like four spaces. Which is kind of bad formatting, I guess, on my part. Let's make a note for next stream. How did I recreate that again? What was it? Drag 2 items, then drag 2 more items. Drag 2, then drag 2 more. Was that how I did it? Now I forgot how I recreated my own bug. Let's try again here. Drag 2, and then drag 2 more. No, that worked. What was it? Drag 1, and then drag 2. Yeah. Yeah, if you do a 1 and then a 2. Drag 1, then drag 2. Let me say drag drop. Then drag drop 2 more. Copy is 3. Okay, so that's a bug for next stream. I'll figure that out. It's probably something simple enough. It seems like as I started looking at this, I'm like, does that completely make sense? No. But this fixed the one line or the one dragging. So you fix one, you break another. I think that was already broken too. There was 2 bugs there, so I'll be happy with a half fix. Let's commit that. That fix is okay for one piece. And next episode, I'll follow up with you guys on whatever the heck that other piece was. What's next? Dynamic extension images. And what's that mean? All right. So for Monaco, I just went through all the language files. And, or no, wait, actually what I did is I loaded the editor instance, and from there you can see what languages are supported based on what language files were loaded. And I used those to make this massive list of all the extensions that have language coloring for. Yeah, there is no patch in there, so I wouldn't have expected to be colored anything, I guess. Let me double check here. Yeah, so what have I changed here? I got rid of the default file viewer thing. I'm just going to say straight up it's Monaco. So for this HTML, yeah, that's in Monaco. You edit that. There's no default file viewer because Monaco can't necessarily... I mean, Monaco can open everything, but I'm going to stick mostly to the things that I can have language support for, ideally. At least those are the ones that are going to show icons for. I might in the future have an unknowns that are openable in Monaco, but at the same time, I don't really want binary stuff being open there, so it's debatable. Anyways, this array I've called Monaco default languages, and I've added a get default file viewer function that currently just looks through the Monaco ones, and in the near future, I add to this with the photo viewer as well, because it also supports a lot of extensions based on what the image component, HTML5 component supports. So I just replaced default file viewer. In this case, this should be unknowns should still be just unknown. So if it's unknown, I'm just going to have it, nothing by default. And what else did I change here? This didn't change too much. For this one, we're going to need a side-by-side. Let's check the diff. So I downloaded the diff already. Let's apply it. 3C, 3 what? There we go, 3AC. Okay, let's take a peek at these changes. So the config we've already gone through. I've made it a set because that's more performant than a straight up array, I believe. What I've seen in the books I've been reading. I'm joking, I haven't been reading any books on that. What else was it here? Yeah, here's the diff that makes it look a little more simple maybe, or is it complex? Oh, right, I actually did two things here. I didn't realize this was this episode where I did this. So here's a nice little thing I've done. Before, it would try to... So let's say you have an image file you put on there. The icon wouldn't show anything until it got that image. Because here it tries to grab the image and then apply the icon for the file itself. The little file where it'll have a picture. Before it was just... You'd have to wait. Now what I do is I apply the generic photo icon first. And then I load the reading. So it happens kind of asynchronously. So you'll see one icon and then it'll load the thumbnail once it gets it. And that's actually how the Windows behavior is. I'm not super happy that I combined these two commits, but whatever, c'est la vie. It all has to do with file extension icon stuff, kind of. So it's tangentially connected. Otherwise, not much change. Same with the music icon. I did the same thing because it grabs the cover art. I just moved out it. So it sets the icon as the music generic icon first. Then it tries to get the cover art. And it actually made the command a little simpler in some ways. And it also shows something faster, which is nice. So that was that. I just explained it. Let's, is there anything to demo about that? Well, this still works. Oh, no, that doesn't work now. So it doesn't know what the patch is now, yeah. So now I actually have no way to open the patch file. I might want to add Monaco to the open withs. Let's do that. I'm going to make a note for next stream. Add Monaco as open with to all unknown files. Maybe I should say not binary question mark, because I'm not sure if I want the binary files. But that's for another day to figure out. Okay, so let's commit this. Dynamic extensions images, which is the music and the picture icons here. And only use Monaco when supported. Yeah. Let's say Monaco when supported. Okay. Shrink that down a little bit if it is a better commit message. So we're going to commit that. That was actually pretty basic for the most part, even though it's a lot of lines. But like I say, if you load Monaco, you can dig into the object and look at what each language interpreter expects for file extensions to do auto detection. And I just had it get every single one of those, and then I sorted them alphabetically. So, because in a way that is what I support for those files. But demo-wise, it doesn't make much of a difference, honestly. I guess as long as Monaco still works, that's basically the only testing ground for it, and I think it still does. Let's see if it, at least in theory, opens. Still opens. And yeah, here we go. This JSON it knows about, and you see it detected the JSON there. So that's a good test to me. Next up, custom extension language mapping. Oh, right. This is for the WHML, or the WHTML, sorry. Looks like I already renamed this from Monaco default languages to just Monaco extensions. That's probably a little nicer. And now here I've got the custom extension languages. The reason I do that is to map these custom extensions I made and other ones I might want. Like, let's say that .patch, maybe I want to try to pick some language that's like close enough, or like diff. Is there anything like diff? Oops, I didn't want to click that, but I did. Let's see here. Oh, move this here, click this. Was there a diff language? No. I wonder if any of these... Well, the thing about Monaco is it actually has a diffing... Well, that's not the same as patch, though. Yeah, I don't know what other kind of file extension it could have been. So I don't know what to map patch to here. But in the case of WHTML, that's that fake WYSIWYG HTML I made for HTML snippets. So I've said, hey, for the WHTML extensions, just pretend they're HTML. And I've added that to something called the detect language as a Monaco function. That basically just checks the, is it in the main extensions? Wait, what? Oh, is it not in the main extensions? Then use this. Otherwise, it's undefined when it comes to detect. The only way I have to detect, yeah, if it's not here, maybe I should just go straight to this, honestly. Because I wouldn't be detecting the language if this had occurred, I feel like. when do I use detect language? I pass it into load Monaco now, the extension. And then, wait, did load Monaco already expect a language? I think I had already written this code, yeah, with the idea that I could pass in a language. Right, load Monaco already had the ability to pass in a language here, but typically I wasn't setting it, and it was just basing it on the URL. But in the case of a WHTML, it wouldn't know, so I know this wouldn't work. That's why I'm using detect language here. But when I run detect language, just in case, because it's going to run detect language for everything, most of the time this will be true, and it'll just go undefined, which is fine, because the URI will detect it. Okay, so simple enough as patches go. I'd like to think. What was that one? B68. Does anyone have B68? Bingo! There's a bingo reference, by the way. B68. There we go, another patch applied. This one I had called Custom Extension Language Mapping. Where now we have this, so in the future maybe we'll have another one here, but I don't know what a patch would be. Maybe we could take a quick peek at that, because that'd be a fun one here. Let's see. Monaco supported languages diff patch. Diff patch files. Does anyone make it? This is great feature request. Was there any follow-up to this? It's open. See the existing Monarch definition for how to implement Sint. Oh no, it's like, oh, hey, great idea, do it yourself. I mean, fair enough, but okay, so I don't have any good language examples that I can use for this Monaco diff idea. Let's just commit it as is then. I'm happy with it as is. So, boom, it's in the commit tree now. I don't think that's the name for that, but I'm calling it that. Next up is, that's all of those for today, for the September 5th day. We got a lot on the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th. Always thinking about it. What's this one? Simple enough. Oh yeah, so the progress cursor isn't quite the cursor I wanted. I wanted wait, I realized, for the loading, the stylized loading windows. I think I'm only using this in one place right now, but I might use it in other places in the future. The working on it thing when the folder's loading. That one speaks for itself. I think the progress one is like the cursor plus the little spinning thing. I just want the pure spinning thing, which comes from cursor wait. Change cursor to wait instead of progress. Yes. That one's minor. Overlay message to switch to edit mode. Right. This one I was kind of happy with. We can do this simply enough as just a copy paste. So basically the styled MCE editor here. Oh, I wonder what that was. So, oh, bad example. Let's open up the documents and we'll open up my blog post. So here's an example. So you're reading it in the WYSIWYG editor and you see if you hover over here, you don't see it in the tooltip, but it says click toolbar item to switch. But it's not very clear that these grayed out items here don't work and that if you click them, now you're in edit mode. That wasn't super clear, honestly, I'll be fair. So I've changed that. And let's look at the styled tiny MCE editor. And I just change it right where the cursor is. All right, I've also switched from a not allowed cursor to a pointer cursor, so that people know that they can click it if they want, and it's going to make something happen. So now I've basically moved that tooltip message here. Click to switch to design mode now. And I've set it to kind of hover right over top of the toolbar when it's disabled. And we're going to remove it from the title element because I don't want, because the title element is worded differently. Click toolbar item. I don't need that anymore. We're just going to hover straight over the thing. And what else did we do with that CSS code? Let's take a peek at that for a second. So I'm using a pseudo element. Change the cursor. I've said so the parent's position is relative, and then the pseudo element's position is absolute. I've set its background color with a little bit of transparency. We got the content here where we set the text. I've displayed it with flex so that I could do centering, not perfect centering, just easy centering. It's easy for me. Place content center, place item center with display flex, works good. For the height here, I've minused 1 pixel from it, just so that the border line separating the bars from the editor doesn't get edited by this background color. So it stays a very solid color, kind of popped out more. And I've added text shadow here so that we get a shadow around the text, and the width is also 100%. So if we just see how that looks in practice, we have to reopen it here. Open up documents, blog, we open it up. There we go. That's a little more clear, I think. Click to switch to design mode, and you can just open this up and ignore that if you want and just read the blog as is. And then if you're a curious reader, you want to click that, and now you're in design mode, and you can just be like, you know, I think his blog is better like this with basically nothing in it. There we go. The blog. And then you can, I've also added a save button, I think, at some point. So we'll be able to save this, but this episode, we added the save button. At the moment, we don't have it, though. So that was the end of that demo. Let's commit that. I like these pseudo elements. I've really gotten the hang of using them in all sorts of different places. For some projects at work where I've had to kind of do a little bit of hackish CSS, they've been nice. They're good for hacking. They're good for all sorts of stuff. Let's commit that and move on to the next one. Move custom extensions into config. Ah, okay, yeah. So this was maybe in the wrong spot before. I'm going to do a patch here because I'm lazy. When it's like 2 files, it's like I'm already going to screw it up. I know I'm going to screw it up. Not to jinx myself, but I feel like typing things wrong happens so often in the computer industry. Maybe just for me. Put it in here, moved it out of there. Simple enough. Yeah, I think that makes sense that it's in the config, these custom extensions, just like the real ones are. But yeah, I'm against typos and I'm very for copy pasting. Even though it seems silly sometimes, I copy paste simple stuff, 4-letter words sometimes. Add icons for new entries. Okay, this was another simple one. Looks like basically all I had to do. Right, so in the right-click menu right now, when you right-click, you see none of these have icons. But simple enough, I already had the folder icon. I already had this function that can get the other icons based on this command. The folder one doesn't need that command. So let's just do another patch, because that's another nice one. So many of these I had on my board. Actually, recently with my to-do notes, what I've done is I added a little sticky circles for the level of difficulty, along with the color, which is like the category of thing I want to do. And since doing that, actually, I've gotten more of them done because I've realized, like, oh, these are some easy ones. So now it's like boom, boom, boom. And now I've kind of been able to reorganize things a bit. So I'm very much for the labeling things multiple ways to try to understand it better. So get icon by file extension. We're going to export that function to use it somewhere else. And we're going to use it in these 2 places here. Now if we, oops, jumped myself randomly for 1 second. Now let's check a demo now. Right click. There we go. Now we have nice little icons for those right click menus, which is more like Windows. And it's also just better. It's just better. Next up is save state on closing. What does that mean? So for this one here, for JS-DOS and for v86, yes. So this was a little bug here, is that the thing to create the save files was happening multiple times. I don't think it was happening for JS-DOS, but it was happening for v86, and I noticed that if I moved off the window and back on, my v86 would sometimes freeze. And I thought, oh, maybe that was just some weird thing that's happening. But it was actually because of this code here, and because I was having it run the save state command in the middle of still running. So now I've added a check with the closing boolean that we already have for Windows when you request them to close. So now only when it's closing do I actually try to do that, which was a much safer way to do this. in general, I've actually gotten a lot of mileage out of that closing boolean. I originally just added that for window animations, I think, with framer motion and making sure that I kept the things I needed to keep running. So there we go. So yeah, I just get closing from the processes. It was on the specific process. And when closing is true and the other things are true, then we'll write the save file. And it's the exact same thing here. So that's been explained enough. I think we aren't even going to test that one because in theory it's just simple enough. It was just a bug fix. So just trust me, there was a bug there, but it wasn't always easy to reproduce. Actually, it is kind of easy to reproduce, honestly, but I already applied the patch before I thought to show you, so let's just not worry about that. Drag drop files onto container apps. So this is another cool one. This is something we're going to use with Ruffle too. With Ruffle, this works. So the idea here is that the apps themselves, with the windows when they're open, I want to be able to drag a file on there and then have the app kind of update as if you like go into an app and press file open kind of thing. So that's what I did. I've made a commit that does such a thing. And let's take a look at it because it's quite a few little changes this time, I think. So I made another function on the process, which is set URL, so the ability to update the URL of the process. We've exported the function so we can access it. I've added a constant for temp path here. Why is that? Oh, yes. So if someone drags something from the desktop, from outside of the browser, from their computer onto the window directly, it needs to upload somewhere in my folder structure. And I'm just going to have like a fake temp folder. Well, it's not even fake, it's real. Because otherwise I don't know where to put them. So that was the idea there. And then this is that container component that we're moving everything to. So remember, we moved Monaco there. We're going to move TinyMCE. So everything's going to be under this container component infrastructure, and it'll inherit these cool abilities like drag and drop now. So basically with this, all I added was this file drop function, and I was able to use the same thing I already had, the use file drop hook that I had previously. I've used it for other things. And what file drop does is it adds all the dropping functions, and at the end it gives you a new path of where it wrote, it gives you a path and it gives you the data. So if there's no data, then it was an internal drag and drop, and that means just update the URL directly with the new path because the path is already on our file system. Otherwise, if there is file data, then you need to put it in there. So I do the make directory recursive to make sure the temp folder is created. And then once it's created, fail or pass here, then we write the file to that temp folder. And then we change the URL. So that's the basics of it, and we can test that with only one app works out of the box. So the reason some of the other apps don't work is because currently I haven't properly set up the hooks of these container apps to dynamically load URLs properly. So for some of them, it's reinitializing things that it should not be doing. So I need to separate the changing of the URL from the initializing of the app. I need to do a little splitting there on a per app basis. But when it comes to Ruffle, luckily it's simple enough that it worked. So I'll show you here, documents, flash. So now we can just take something like this and drag it right on and drop it, and it loads. And I can take another one and drag that on, and then that changes. Cool. So now all the container apps support this now, but I think for the most part it's not going to do much. Let's try it with this one here. Yeah, it pretty much broke Monaco, so Monaco doesn't properly work with that. Let's see with the Linux one. If I go into documents, images, let's switch to Calibri. Oh, it's not even allowing it. There we go. Does absolutely nothing. And what other ones? JS-DOS. That one I could. Oh, that one doesn't even work after I load Monaco. That's a whole other related issue. It's on the board. It's on the board. Don't worry. I'm sure you guys were very worried. How do I create this one? I don't have a good way to load this. I can just do this. No, actually, it has no problem with that. If I were to give it a proper extension, it might even not be able to reload itself. Okay, it doesn't try to reload itself. Well, anyways, long story short, I know that only Ruffle works properly. So that's on my board that I have to fix these container apps. I don't think it's on the board for each app, but I do need to make a post-it for each one because each one is going to be separate fixes, kind of. Each one doesn't work for different reasons. Drag drop files onto container apps. Done. That was a nice one. Yeah, I'm really happy with this container app idea too. I think I did it originally just to thinking these two apps looked really similar. They both just were asking for a container in the end. So I was like, let's generalize that piece. And now I've realized that by generalizing that piece, it's like a window into passing it different URLs or to doing other little things involving tracking it. What's next? Here we go. Now we move TinyMC to a container app. We can just peek it here and then we'll do the patch. So I changed the config slightly. TinyMC was the same thing where, just like with Monaco, where there was that editor component and now I had to do a different way where I get an instance. Now with TinyMCE, as you can see, the index has gotten completely emptied out again and it's moved to that container component. And then the hook here mostly... So, yeah, for the most part, nothing had to change other than the piece here. So here it is, another init one. So after the TinyMCE's library is loaded, then the init here, you just pass in you have to pass in a selector. Unfortunately, it needs to be a selector. I can't just give it a raw element. But one clever way I found of that is that I know this container element's the element. And if I get the class list and I join them with these dots here and a starting dot, I basically get a very specific selector that's just for this one because there's a little bit of gibberish with the styled components class anyways, so it's already very unique. This is just my way of generating a selector from an element basically. And then I add this div piece here because I've put it in a div and that is shown here. So in the container component, you can have child components. And I think I actually end up changing this down the road. No, I needed that. Yeah, because if you apply it directly to the container component, it acted a bit funky. It expects to be on like a completely empty div. Whereas when I was passing it just this selector, the container component directly, it was mad because that was a styled component. It was like, hey, there's already things going on with this element. And then part of TinyMCE, it has a setup function here where it passes you the active editor directly. And then you have to say active editor when it loads, and then that's when you get the real active editor. That's when you should set the editor, I realized. Because I have another hook here. If just at this point you go, okay, I've got the active editor, I'm going to set it. Then it triggers this because I already had the URL, and now I have an editor, and then it was trying to do the set content. But really, set content doesn't work until the active editor has fully loaded. So even if you get active editor here, you should put your event on load, I realized. So then it sets the editor after load. Then this part triggers where it sets read-only mode, loads the content, and then updates the title. And that's what was going on before, I believe. Yeah, this is all exactly the same, this here. And I've lost the maintain focus thing, I think. When you open the submenus, I had a half fix where the submenus wouldn't lose focus. But for some reason, I can't get that to work at the moment, so I've just decided to remove it because it was really minor anyways. I put it back on the wall as like, hey, this is broken again. Otherwise, that's moving to container app. I've also been able to remove this dependency, and now I just have the lib file directly copied. This is just a dev dependency for types. And that was it for updates, I think, on this one. Yeah, where's the lib in here somewhere? Didn't I copy the lib? Oh, I already had the lib. Right. So now I'm pointing to the lib here. Before I had it like this in a script. And then this init here has basically become what this config is. And this was required now for loading. These things didn't change. Not much had to change, honestly. I don't even know if I needed base URL. I can't remember if I needed that. Let's keep it there anyways, because I think I might have. Let's apply this patch. But I basically just explained it now. So that was TinyMCE. Same thing. Before I was using this pre-made React component, and I've moved to figuring it out myself and making it myself. Because then I can put it into my container component infrastructure where I control the container, essentially the elements, which is always preferred. The only app I have that's not like that is the WebAmp app. And that's acceptable because it's controlling its own window. It's its own little thing in its own little world. And I'm just gonna let it be. So what changed here? We already discussed it. Yeah, we removed that dependency. We tweaked this config a bit. We completely hollowed this out, so it's just a container component now. We moved a type here. I migrated this type out of there, and then focused this on just the hook. So that's a nice one. I'm happy with that. Again, we're doing this in steps, so I might end up improving upon the TinyMCE one even in this episode. It's hard to say. The way that I do commits, it's hard to say. I kind of just keep throwing them out there. So here I did package updates. I'm going to not do those probably now. Throughout the week, I like to do them sometimes just to see what new things there are. But unless I did something substantial here, no, I'll just do that at the end. We'll skip that one. Next, Lint plugin handles React checks. Oh, okay. This is part of the package updates, maybe. Let's just do the package updates now because I might have to change this again, it looks like. Looks like some Next.js change might have broke linting. Yarn outdated is the first command I typically run to see what updates there's going to be. So there's a lot. Next.js updated, prettier, TinyMCE, TypeScript, practically every package I got. Jeez. Yarn upgrade -- latest. So this is going to upgrade every package I have to latest. And it's also going to update my package.json file, which is the way I like it. That's the way. And then we should probably run an ESLint after this updates, based on the fact that it was failing. All right, it's done. If we run outdated again, we can see if anything got missed or skipped. No, just the exotic one. But let's go right into doing a lint. I don't remember what the command is. Yarn ESLint. Too many projects I work on that are different. Okay, so right away it's failing. The plugin JS-DOM was referenced from config. Interesting. Was not found when loaded as a node module. Didn't I fix this? Double check that. I feel like that's something that might have been fixed. Perhaps that was this? I kind of doubt it, but that'd be funny if that was this. Let's remove the React plugin then. But how could it have been that? Because this is talking about Jest. Well, it's saying try reinstalling it. Okay. I wonder if I didn't have this, but I probably should have had this if I didn't. Okay, but I do. That's an odd message. Let's try it again. I wonder if this just got a buggy update. Yarn install this at latest. Oh, and I have to say -- dev. Yeah, I already had that. Let's try the ESLint plugin again. Looks like maybe this is bad now. Let's revert back to whatever the old version I had was. And what that was, let's check. So going back to this package JSON update here. It was called JS-DOM. So I had 390. And now after that upgrade, I was on 391. Okay, so let's switch back to 390 then. This didn't change. What the heck? Am I taking crazy pills or how do I do this? Install has been replaced with add. Oh, okay, but you were okay with it a second ago when I ran something similar. Or I just didn't read the message. It's probably more likely. Okay, this time it should work, except it didn't because I spelled yet again something incorrect. 4th time's the charm? 5th time? How many times have I done that? Okay, so we're back to this version. I'm actually going to do the up arrow thing here, although maybe that'll make it download 391 again, which I don't want. Okay, it didn't make a difference there anyways. Let's try ESLint again and see if that fixed anything. Looks like it did. Tick tock, tick tock. Well, the fact that it's running is good. It seems like that React issue is not complaining about though, so maybe I won't have to do that Next.js tweak. Oh no, something happened. Display name. 3 problems. On the document page? Next document should not be imported outside of document. Huh, I wonder if this was that Next.js fix. Next lint plugin handles React checks. Well, let's give that a shot. Really seems unnecessarily unlikely. But what is this? How am I going to fix this? Should not be imported outside of the pages. Is this another update that I should not have gotten? Because I don't know what the fix is for that. Let's remove this temporarily and see if it helps at all. What was it called? React from the ESLint? Let's see if removing it from ESLint helps to start. Because there's this Next.js part now that does a lot of stuff. But these errors don't really seem related to that. I don't remember fixing this though, so I think this is a known bug where it's not trusting that my .tsx file, because it's like outside of .js file. It's like, well, no, this file's fine. Okay, so that didn't do a thing. Let's just not do any of these changes then, and not do package updates at all this episode, because some kind of package is wonky. I'm gonna remove. Actually, I'm just gonna do a yarn install, and hopefully it tracks to the lock file a bit better. I'm not sure if it will, but okay. So we're gonna ignore those 2 commits actually, the package update and whatever this next lint was, because I don't trust either of them. Let's just move on to this. Only unmount on closing. Oh yes, this is another nice fix. I think this actually is easy to recreate this busted one. Let's check it out. Oh, am I not running my dev environment anymore? Oh yeah, that thing got hooped. Oh, or did it? It's not quite closing properly either. Okay, there we go. There we go. It's back. So I wanted to show you a compressed, not compressed, or yeah, compressed, I guess. Here, let's open up this. Oh, that's not what I want to do. I wanted to open the ISO, open with. Oh man, I keep clicking the wrong things. So click that, and then I think if I click this, what was the trick? There's some way to really easily break this. Oh wait, when I close this? Ah yes, there we go. So it was unmounting. Yeah, it unmounted the ISO, but that's not what I wanted to happen. The ISO was still open, but because I closed one folder that was off of the ISO, it crashed it. Because that one folder is like, oh, okay, I'm part of the ISO, and you closed me, so I'm going to unmount the ISO, but there were other folders using that ISO. So that was not cool, dude. So let's fix it, right? Simple enough fix in the end was, again, using the power of closing. We could see with File Explorer that I would pass in the file manager to no closing. Because actually in a couple cases this is not important. So I figured I'd control it in the file manager case. Yeah, because how else would I know? Right, the file manager doesn't know what process it's associated with. So if I want to say that the file manager is dismounting, and I want to, whoa, what happened there? Did I press inspect or something? That was weird. I'm trying to think about the reasoning as to why passing this in made more sense. Right, because these checks aren't enough to know that it's closing. Right, closing is about the process. There can be more than one file manager where this URL would still be not what you'd want to mount, I think. Or maybe closing it, for whatever reason. Sometimes it's hard to figure out why my fixes worked. Let's open this again. Documents, images, Linux ISO, then close this. There we go, it's fine. And then I close that. Okay. So that's how it was supposed to work. Is that closing the subfolder wasn't supposed to crash everything. So only unmount on closing File Explorer. That's how it should be called. I'm gonna save that. Gonna try to commit. It's going incredibly slow all of a sudden, so it feels like VS Code has decided to go silly on me, which happens sometimes. I'm going to cancel this style lint. I'm going to save this. And I'm going to close VS Code as soon as I can get this commit to kick in. This is me trying to commit that thing. Now VS Code's scaring me. Okay, I'm going to close it and open it again. Just to endanger myself here, kind of. So switch to the browser, switch back to the code, open the code, run yarn dev again, open up another command prompt for my git applies. Now these commits, can I push those out? Hopefully yes, and if so, I'm going to push all of those 13 that I've got going. Here we go. So I'm going to push these 13 commits out in case my computer decides to do something wonky on me. Otherwise, we're okay. Let's move on. So that's another day of commits done. Onto this. So here's where we add that save button for TinyMCE. Let's just go right to the patch. I need like a one button click that gets me the patch and applies it right away. Switches over to the right window for me. Even would be nice. This one, yeah, save button for TinyMCE. So in the config here for TinyMCE, I've added it to the plugins to load, and I've added it in the save button is the first button in the toolbar. As you see this plugin.js file, that's the file. I'm not even going to click it because it's minified, and minified files plus my bracket colorizer plugin are not a good combo. And all I had to do as far as on the init function, there was another key called save on save callback. So this is when the save plugin's loaded, there's this on save callback function you can do that you get past the active editor. And then basically all I do is right away say, write the file of the URL that we already know loaded. We get the newest content from the editor via its get content function. And then I've got this notification system that is part of the TinyMCE editor that I decided to use, that it will show a notification. That'll have a close button. The text will be different depending on if there was an error saving the file. If there was an error, it'll say that. Otherwise, it'll say that. It'll show it for 5 seconds. And the type is either an error or a success based on that error again. So let's try it out. So now here, if we go to Documents, and we go to my blog, we open the blog. Now if I edit it, let's say I delete this entire piece and make this piece all bold and red. Now you see there's a save button here. If I click save, there we go. It says successfully saved. And now the save button can't be clicked again until there's another change. And then after 5 seconds, it disappeared. So now if I close this and I open it again, there we go. Now we have the edited blog post. So now people are like, oh, I edited his blog. That's crazy. And if you want, you could right click and open this in Monaco, and you could see how that HTML got generated there. So what did it do? How did it add that? I don't know how it added that. I don't see any obvious stuff for that. Interesting. How did it add that? Is that not the same file? Let's try this again. So this piece here, what if I'm going to add some text here. The red text is here. Okay, press save. Close it again. And now edit it in Monaco. Ah, here it is. Okay, so that was there before. That was a span. Ah, so it's not red, it's this color. Right. Now I don't have saving ability in Monaco at the moment, so I can't save it, but there it is there. And there's actually a thing in TinyMCE to see this as well. I think you can click view source, and you can also see the source code there. So there's a few ways to edit it, but anyways, that's pretty neat. So that was a cool feature, the ability to save. Let's save that in our editor. Move on to the next one. Don't add file again if it already exists. What's this for? Sounds like a good idea anyways. This is for the... What is this for? This is for the update folder, update files command when it's a new file, before it was just automatically putting the new file on there with the assumption that there must not be a version of it already. Obviously that was wrong. So now I get its new name, and then I check if it's already in the current files. And if it's already in the current files, just return those. Otherwise, do what it was doing before. So simple enough. You can just trust me that that was a real bug. That really occurred. And that's where I like finding bugs, because I actually like fixing them, or actually like realizing my mistakes to those bugs, and where it's like, oh, of course there could be, this command could have been ran even if the file already was there. This is really only necessary for the overwrites, actually, because if it were a new file, I have a new path command, but there's another command for just updating the files that when you overwrite a file. And in that case, I don't want it to change. I think the case for that is like for the save states, like for JS-DOS and for the v86. When they save their states, they just want to overwrite the file. But then they also want I guess I don't have to run update folder then, but I have to because I don't know if it existed the first time. So it's better to just update the folder. Anyway, that's it. Let's commit this. Oh, that's not what that message was. It's this message now. Don't add file again if it already exists. Don't add file again to folder if it already exists. Next up is fallback to theme wallpaper, right? This was another one where if you set a wallpaper as the image and then you deleted it, next time you load, it just would load black instead of defaulting back to the animated wallpaper. So this just allows me to default back to the animated wallpaper, assuming that the wallpaper has disappeared. Let's apply it. AD, etc., etc. So only use wallpaper had to change. I made a callback called load theme wallpaper. How does it work? Oh yeah, this is essentially to load the animated wallpaper, but it's whatever was set on the theme. So now I have it in two places. So before it was just here loading, that was like loading the theme wallpaper. Now I say, okay, in that case, but also in this case, if you try to read the wallpaper, but you get an error here, then just do what you would have done here had there not even been a wallpaper set. That's the basic concept there. Makes the wallpaper setting feature a little more robust, which is always nice. Robustness is encouraged in my code base. Tweak some no unnecessary conditions. Right. This is when I keep enabling this in ESLint and then realizing there's little tweaks that can be made. I'll do a patch here again because it's I don't want to miss any obvious ones, and the more minor it is, the easier it is to miss. Another nice cryptic commit message. Tweak some no unnecessary conditions. So this no unnecessary condition was a ESLint rule. I enabled it, and it has a lot of false positives in my opinion, but some of them are legit, so I did do some of them. This one here, the active editor, well, there's almost a certainty that we're going to get the active editor here. If saving doesn't give us the active editor, it's like we got bigger problems. Same here. When we split this ID here, we're going to get an array, so we don't have to worry about that. This one I just decided to reword slightly because it looked a little cryptic the way it was. So here it was like minimized and minimize. That would suggest that in this case it gives a false, but I just want either the minimized text or no text. So this was just another little tweak because it was considering that a unnecessary conditional here, I think. Because it was like, hey, no matter what happens, something returns. But I just tweaked this a bit. And same here, window is always going to give us something, so we don't have to worry about that. Actually, I guess that's not totally true for server-side rendered, but I don't think that would be a problem here. Maybe if I ever make a unit test that server-side render tests if it goes off screen, then we can figure that out. But so far we don't have almost any unit tests, so it's not a big deal. We just got one. I'm calling it integration test because it loads everything. Well, it loads everything like a user just visiting the web page, I guess. Pass album and metadata. This is a simple one. I think I was just looking through WebAmp and I noticed that this was something that they passed in a lot of their demos of implementing the code, that they pass album. So I'll pass album. Because you know what? I'm already parsed it. I already knew it here in this object that I got back. So let's just use it right here. If it makes it WebAmp not need to search the file for something, then that, in my opinion, makes it more performant passing this. Because I know there's some auto-detect stuff that goes on when you don't pass things. And I already knew the information, so let's just pass it. Another day of fix is done. So create shortcut is a nice one. This one was actually kind of hard. This is just the ability to right-click an entry and have it create a shortcut, which is kind of neat. So let's say in this case here, I want to right-click and press create shortcut so I can put it here. Well, I didn't have that feature, but now I do. Let's see how I implemented it, right? It involves magnets. It's just big magnets is all I did. So I changed 4 files here. The constants, I just added a shortcut append of space dash space shortcut. That's like how it is in Windows when you make a shortcut. It adds that text to the end of it. Let's try to find the simple changes first. Here we go. I just exported this get process by file extension so we could access that. Those are 2 obvious ones. Here is the file context. What did I change here? Right, I now export a new shortcut command. On the process, before I was getting the open with options, but I wasn't looking at what the default possible processes. What is this for? What the heck is this for? Ah, this is getting the extension types. Right, so in the case of like TinyMCE, it'd be like TinyMCE here, and then the other ones, so like Monaco editor. I needed this. Here I'm checking the path extension. Oh, I was already checking it here, and I was already checking, yeah, so I just moved these 3 up, basically for this condition here. So if it's, this is for the right-click menu. This is adding entries to the right-click menu. So if it's not a shortcut already, we try to get the default process from either the extension process here, or if the extension wasn't recognized, we run the get process by file extension with the extension that we already knew because it was already grabbed. Now, if there's a default process that we can load, or there's no path extension and there's no URL extension, then we can create a shortcut. Why is that? No path extension and no URL extension. Oh, so this is for a folder. Right. Yeah. So if there's, for folders, when you go to create a shortcut, there won't be an file extension and there won't be an extension process. So there won't be a default process. But if there was neither of those things, then it's okay, because here we'll just here we also have a default that if the default process, wait a minute then. Maybe I should just have it like this then. Wait, does that make sense? No. No. Because it's relevant here that is part of it. I guess I could still put it here. This or this or this and this. But I actually like it being part of this because I think it's a little more clear that if there was a default process or there was no file specified, then it was a folder. Anyways, in that case where there's no default process, then the file explorer opens it, which is what opens folders. So that was it for the right-click menu, basically just to add the create shortcut piece depending on what kind of file it was or folder. And all that it does is run the new shortcut command that we created. And then what the new shortcut command does is right here. So let's see what that is. So now we export new shortcut. We got the shortcut append. We're going to write an INI file because these shortcuts are INI files. So here's what a new shortcut command looks like then. The path in the process. And I'm using the INI encode function to basically encode a shortcut that looks just like the normal shortcut. So look at a normal shortcut here. Desktop File Explorer shortcut. So it's got the internet shortcut header, and then base URL, icon file, and URL. And that's what I've recreated wherever the heck it was. Here. The same three things. So base URL is the process, the icon file. If there was a path extension, then we're going to get the icon based on that. Otherwise, we'll use the folder icon. And the URL is just the path. And here we just say that this is the main section. It's an internet shortcut, and there's we don't have to worry about white space. And then the file name will be the original name plus that shortcut appendage plus the shortcut extension. And then we just create new path. And using new path allows us to get the 1, 2 brackets if we get duplicates. So let's try it out. Wasn't too hard. Let's open up documents, blog. So right here, we'll go right click and then we go create shortcut. And there it is. And now we can drag it here and double click it and it'll open the thing. And if we right click this and open this in Monaco, oh, it also opens that. Right. So now it's harder to, the way my shortcuts work, they really are treated like shortcuts. So even Monaco thinks to open this document and not this shortcut, because this is a shortcut. I can do, even if and now that because it's a shortcut, I can go right click and I say open file and I can see the where it actually is with open file location. And we can also do that with folders, create shortcut. And now I put it there and it's a shortcut to that folder. Open folder location. Cool. So that's create shortcut. I think in the future we'll probably have shortcut icons. I'm going to actually make a note of that. Shortcut icon overlay. Because as you guys know with Windows, there's that little shortcut arrow that is on a shortcut file. And I think it might be time at this point. I've started to make shortcuts are slowly turning into first-class citizens here. So I think it's probably almost time to give them an icon so people know, because there's going to be a lot of them floating around maybe. Who knows? All right, that was a big feature. What's next? We haven't even got to the photo viewer yet. That's just crazy. What are we at? Hour 10? Nice. Red Bull's down. What's this one? Use only base name for title. Right, okay. So for File Explorer, before I was using the whole path. When I have the address bar, that's going to be less necessary. So I've decided to just preemptively stop doing that. And now I'm going to have it like this instead. So it's just going to use the base name. And for the root directory where base name is blank, basically, it's going to default to this my PC. Wow, is there a space there? I didn't realize that. Oh man, I committed it with that space. That's incorrect, I think. Yeah, that should never have been there. There we go. So yeah, that was a little bug that I didn't notice. Good thing I copy pasted it this time instead of using the patch. Let's check it out and make sure it works. So now when I open this, there we go, my PC. And if I open this one, yeah, just documents. So yeah, I'm not going to worry about the path for now because in the future I'm going to have an address bar that will be using the full path. So people can just use that to know the path if they need to. Or my PC, let's specify. There we go. Another one bites the dust. What's next? That's a whole other day. So we're down to the last 3 days of the week. This day I didn't do too much either, but one of the cool things I did this day was I added zip right-click support. That's another cool one. Let's see what I did here. So now people will have the ability to make and extract zip files just by putting them on my app, which I think could be useful for all sorts of things, actually. I might end up using it a few times. Although, honestly, if your computer's already set up, it's probably not too necessary. But if you just want to default a little quick file extractor, Can be used for that. So let's look at this one first. This is the right-click menu. So for the right-click menu, I had to also import the archive files and extract files functions, which are part of the file actions now. And here's them being used in the right-click menu. So I have this condition here that if it's a mountable extension, then we add the extract here right-click that extracts files. And this is this piece here that if it's not a shortcut, it has a URL, and it has an extension, or it's not a folder. So this, I was already using this condition to do the download option. And download essentially was making a zip file when it was more than one file. So I think it was fitting to also add the add to archive here as well. So add to archive is something for any file, anything you can download, you could also do here where you add it to a zip file that just gets put on the desktop. And then you could download that if you wanted to. And as far as the name of the archive, I don't have it here, but that's in the next page. That's this part of archive files that it does. So here's the use folder. So for fflate, that's what I was already using to do zipping with my download one. Now I've added unzipping here. I've exported the archive and extract functions. Here I kind of refactored download files. I think it was actually partially wrong the way it was written. Why is that though? I think, what was the reasoning behind this? With one file, oh right. If you selected one file, it would let you download it. But if you selected two files, it would do a zip. But if those two files ended up only having one of the files be zippable, because I filter out shortcuts, I don't allow those to be in the zip. Same with folders at the moment, because I haven't solved that perfectly. So then you might end up getting a zip file with just one file. So for that reason, I changed it slightly so that it does the zipping first, I think. Is that true? It does the filtering first. So first it filters to make sure that it was able to do the get file command the way I wanted on each one. That already existed, this get file command, by the way, it was here. But before I was saying if there's only one path. Now I want to say after filtered, is there still only one zip file? If there's only one zip file, okay, just give them the direct one. Just like was being done here with create link. Yeah, that didn't change. But if there's more than one path, then I would do a zip. So not too much of a change for download. And then the two additional functions. Archive is easy. Archive looks pretty much just like download. Gets the files, filters them, and then just goes straight to the zipping. But extract was a little harder. So for extract, we read the zip file. And then if there's no problem with reading the zip file, we do unzip on it, where we get the unzipped files. We make a folder name for the zip, which is just basically the name of the current folder it's in. So like if you try to make a zip folder file while you're on the desktop, it's going to be called desktop.zip. And then, oh, sorry, that was for adding to the archive. This is for extracting. So for extracting, it's going to be named whatever the zip file is. So if it's desktop.zip and you say extract files, you're going to get a folder called desktop that's going to have the files in it. So it makes the folder, sorry, based on joining the zip folder name in the current directory. And then I have an X here, but we don't actually have to worry about that. So that could just be a W. The X is if it already exists, but we pretty much know. Actually, the X would throw an error if it existed. We actually don't care to throw an error anyways. It could exist, though. It could exist. That's a little bug I guess I have in the code, is that if you were to do extract here and then do it again, I don't know what would happen. But let's not worry about that for now. Let's make a note of it, though. Extracting zip twice causes issues, question mark? I'm not even going to test it, but I just need to think on that now that I've realized it. So after it makes a directory, it goes through the unzipped files one by one. And wait a minute here. I guess this is okay. So yeah, so as soon as it makes the folder, it updates the folder to say that it's there. I could put this at the top. In a way, it's a little bit weird because, yeah, I guess this is okay. So the folder appears and things are going to get written into it here. But if you were to open the folder really quick, you wouldn't necessarily see that. And I don't run update files here on each occasion, so I think that's okay. Is it though? Yeah, this is a little bit of another issue. So the folder gets created and it might look partially empty if you just you extract and you open so fast that the extract's not done. I'd like this to happen at the end, but it's not easy to do. Because just the way browser FS works, you kind of throw these out into the ether, these requests. Anyways, the folder structure, it ends with these forward slashes when it's a path. So the unzipped files, if it ends like that, I know it's just a folder and I make a folder. Otherwise, I write the file with its content. And, I'm wondering if that would do for multiple zipped files. Right, it would. Because this will show the directory structure. So the unzipped files will have just the structure. So the make directory will make sure to make the files. So when it comes time to write with the full path, it will exist. Or at least it has in my tests. But yeah, at the end of all this writing, it doesn't update the folder. It does the update folder here. But that's going to happen after these have already been triggered. I guess it doesn't hurt to put it at the end. Give it a little bit of time. So this will maybe execute 1 or 2 of those by the time you see the folder. Anyways, I think that solves that. So that explains those two. And then here I just switched to the word contents, I think, versus buffer. Because usually I use contents, but for some reason that one had been buffer. And here I export it. Oh, let's test it out. That was a lot of explanation. Let's find a zip file here. In the documents. Well, in my ROMs, this is actually a zip file. Let's just rename it. Zip. There we go. So that's a zip file. You open it. That looks like a zip file. If I drag it over here and then I right click it, you see we have extract here. So if I click extract here, there's a Doom folder and inside it, it's got the files. Cool. So it extracted them all, including subfolders here. And another thing we could do, let's take this one and this one and this one and right click. Oh wait, these are mostly shortcuts, so that's a bad example. This and this. Right click and say add to archive. And there we go, desktop.zip. And if you double click it, it's those 2 files. And that's a zip. And now I can right click that and I can press extract here. And now we get a folder called desktop and it's got those same 2 files. So now we have zip functionality built into our fake context menu, fake real. At some point I can stop air quoting this app. You know, at some point it won't be fake anymore. Only fake within the context of outside of its world. Inside its world, it's very real. It's real to it. Okay, it's time to reset this app here because it's getting a little bloated with stuff. There we go. Where were we here? Fallback name. That's the next one. Sounds simple enough. Ah, yes. What was the issue here? Oh, right. The root directory was having like an empty zip file name. So for the root directory where there's no desktop.zip or whatever, you know, from the, like if you make a zip file on the desktop, it calls it desktop.zip. But if you make a zip file on the root, just a slash, it was blank.zip, which is not ideal. So now I have archive basically. Otherwise that didn't change at all. So let's just go in and tweak that. What is that line? This file is getting very bulky, but I'll change it another day. There we go. So base name or archive. Oh, we got two commas there. That's wrong. So we'll say fallback name as archive.zip. That gives a little more clarity as to what kind of fallback name we're talking about here in our commit message. And let's check out the next of my... So we're down to not too many commits. Where's the part where I focused on the photo app? I think it's right here, in fact. Focus on app. Yeah, we're almost at the point where I did really focus on the photo app. Let's see, what's the next one here? Focus on app window if it's running already. Ah, yes, this was to fix the issue here. So you open documents, it opens, and that steals focus from the start menu, which closes the start menu. But if I click here now and I click, it's not doing it because nothing's stealing focus from it. All I need then, so the open command was triggered, but it never stole focus because of the way the code was here. Before, the code would see that, oh, the process already exists. All right, we'll just do nothing then. But now it says, oh, the process already exists. Okay, let's find its window then and focus on it and then do nothing else. So that's the only difference there. So I'll replace the return piece on the functions for the process. Here it was. Simple change. So now if we go to the browser and we open documents, it opens. Now we're here, so it's lost its focus, but if I click here to request to open it again, there we go. It takes focus back and start menu closes again, which is what I wanted. Two birds with one stone. I wanted the start menu to close and I wanted focusing on app reloads. Or app re-requests of reloads. Didn't need to reload anything, but it did the request. Optional class name, not empty. What's that mean? Oh, this is minor. Okay, what was this all about? Oh, right, I think I noticed that the class name, when it's blank, was actually applying class name to the element. But if it's undefined, it applies nothing. That's what I preferred. I'm just going to patch this one because, again, it's changed it in enough places where a mistake's waiting to happen there. Switch over to the code again. Not this window. Oh, man, I closed the wrong window. Darn it. I got to run the git apply command again. What's this hash called? 5b. There we go. So class name should be optional, and it can be undefined instead of empty. And same thing in these three cases where it was being empty. I think performance-wise, it must make some difference. I mean, you're adding something to an element versus not adding it. I don't know. Maybe it's like McDonald's, where when I say only cheese, it takes longer. It takes longer to not add pickles than to add pickles. But maybe that's because they already have a bunch of normal cheeseburgers and I'm the weirdo. It probably has something to do with me being a weirdo. Anyways. Okay, next up is base image viewer. Okay, so from this point forward, I wonder if we're just working on the image viewer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look through these commits here because I did a bunch of work on this photo editor. I want to show it, but I don't want to waste time with applying this, then applying it again, applying it again. I'm going to see if all of these changes are the same files that were all part of the photo editor, then I'm just going to jump over to the changed files and I'm just going to copy the photo editor. But let's see. So these ones here definitely, I mean, this is the base one. Maybe this base one is worth doing. I just question doing all of them. Let's check the next commits because this base one is important. This one's where we get our icons and stuff, and that's the main one. But were any of these other ones outside the photo app? These were all in the photo app for that change. Change title on Zoom. That was in the photo app. This was in the photo app. Yeah, I really worked on the photo app for a while the last couple days because I wanted to get it nice and perfect. So far this is looking, yeah, this entire day was all photo app after that base commit. The full screen option, that also was all just the photo app. Here's a difference. Right, so that's a feature. That one will do. This one also is unrelated. This again is the photo app. Looking like mostly photo app. I'm happy that the commits in which the photo app is involved seem to be isolated to it. Yeah. Okay, so we're probably just going to do the photo app right from the changed files. Maybe I'll do this base, I'll apply this base one and then I'll just use the other files. So first let's do these other commits because these are easy enough. So one feature was for the taskbar entry here, you see, like, let's say I open this here. So that the name is like app-file. I just wanted to add a feature so it can be file-app, basically. And the, I would say, lazy way that I've done it, I'm just going to copy and paste. Actually, am I? No. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take that patch where I did it, but we're going to have to modify the patch ever so slightly because the patch talks about a file that I don't yet have. So we're going to drag in the patch here, and I'm just going to get rid of this directory change and say that that didn't happen. It's right here. There we go. Otherwise, this patch is okay. This 7A patch. There we go. No complaints from it. And we're going to call this prepend title on taskbar entry. So for the types, I've added a flag that's possible when for the process called prepend taskbar title. So on a per process basis, I'm going to say this process, its taskbar entries have the inverted. Because for the photo editor in Windows, that's how it is. And I like the feature because then you don't need that word photos in the way. Anyways, as far as how I did it, I think that was simple enough. So I had minimized here before. I took the process and split it out a little bit so that I could also get that value. Maybe what I'll do is I'll put this up here, keep it a little closer to where I cut it from. Yeah, so I took this piece and just put it down here and also added this. And these could probably just be defaulted now. Or undefined, sorry. So that one difference is that I split the ID based on the process delimiter so that I can get just the process ID. Because then I want to read from the process directory what the original title was so that I know how to invert it. And then here, when I'm applying the taskbar title for the taskbar entry, I say, oh, if you want me to prepend it, then we'll do a flip here. Otherwise, let's use the title as is. Now, there could be other ways to do this where title gets set. The reason I want to keep title the same is that the window bar still shows photos dash then the file name, but the taskbar entry is flipped. And because title is coming directly from the process here, it's getting passed in. I don't want to mess with it. So I'm just going to say, oh, if you want me to prepend it, I'll just do a manual flip here where I take the title, I remove the original, and then I add it at the end. And then here I pass taskbar title to the places where it needs to be. Now, I don't have a demo of using it just yet, but we're going to have a demo in a moment when I apply those changes. So let's commit this one here as a feature. Oh, there's something I didn't save. I didn't save that, my little unimportant changes. I'm calling them unimportant in the hope that they don't break anything. Let's commit that, and let's commit the one other non-photo editor related one, which was this one here. Right. I'd been getting these have been slipping in, unfortunately. Not proud about them. The issue is there's this auto import feature that I've added to VS Code, and it's cool in theory, but sometimes it auto imports the wrong stuff. And sometimes it imports the wrong stuff, but in a way where it's okay, if that makes any sense. One such example is when it imports React. So it's done it a few times here where it says type React, and I actually don't need it. I don't even know why it does it, because I think it does it here based on it thinking something's not global. I feel like adding this rule to ESLint in hopes that it fixes things. I have a note to check this later, but because you can add these globals, and I can say there is a global called React, so stop bugging me about it. But I don't know if that even helps with the auto import fixing, so I don't know. Anyways, I just removed it from these places. It wasn't needed. That's a refactor. Without further ado, I think we're ready for the new app of the day, which is the photo app. I'm going to apply the first patch just to get a few of the binary files without having to give myself a bunch of copy paste headaches. So that was here, the base image viewer. I think we should be able to apply this one without any headaches. Switch over to code here. Apply the commit. There we go. And now let's see, this will be a bigger one. So here's the first bulk commit where we make the photos folder, we make the original photo app, we make a styled component, we got some functions. Oh wait, what's this? This is just me modifying the get default file viewer extension. So remember how I added the Monaco one so that if it's one of the Monaco extensions, same with this array that I already had called image file extensions that had every image that's supported. We're also going to check for that. And if it's there, then we load the Photos app, which I've called it. And I've also updated the directory here. And then I've added a photo icon that is the same icon that I see from Windows. And I've also updated the directory structure. Now we're going to rerun this update of the directory structure by doing a yarn build fs. I'm going to call this the photo viewer app. I'm just going to pre-commit my commit message a little bit. And okay, so we have a new updated that. The icons are already good. Now these 4 files here I want to change because there's actually more than 4 files. So let's start looking at the big file changes here. And we're just going to hide all the ones that aren't related to the photo app. Monaco, 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 a lot of Monaco stuff. So here's the first one, photo icons. Right, so this is something I didn't even have in the base app, but we're going to add those. So I'll need photo icons. And the icons that I have are these 4 SVGs that represent the enter and exit full screen and zoom in and zoom out. And these SVGs are icons that I've got from the resources that are necessary. Now the styling, that's a heavy one. Yeah, there's not much else I can say about these SVGs. They're just SVGs. I've tried to make them as small as possible with the SVG shrinking programs. There's nothing excessive in these SVGs. It's the bare minimum necessary for them to work properly. We'll paste in here the latest stylings. Oh, we lost all our spacing. I hate that. I'm going to not do that. I'm going to open the file raw here and try that. Let me try to paste this again. There we go. Now we got our new line still. So styling, I'll get to in a minute here. I'm going to shrink these down so they're easier to explain. Next file. This is the main photo app. As you can see, it's other than a bunch of imports, it's somewhat simple. It doesn't look as simple when it's all green like this, but we're going to go through it. We're going to explain it. I'm going to take a big chug of water to explain it. So I've updated the index. The next one, I had a hook called use drag zoom here. We're going to make that here because that also didn't exist on the base one. That was something I added after the fact. This was to add the ability to do zooming and dragging of the image. These are also things that the photo viewer has the ability to do. Paste that massive 137 line hook in there. Getting a bit big. And I have another hook for being able to do full screen called use full screen. I had quite a few little files here I added to make it work properly. A couple hundred lines of code. There we go. Like so. And then, is there any other changes? These are tiny MCE. These are also tiny MCE. Come on, where are they? Wallpaper. I think there's at least one more setting I need to change. Possibly in the directory. Just trying to find it. If I haven't already shrunk it. And I don't want to miss any other ones. Draggable entries. No, I already fixed that. I've already applied almost everything here. I'm just trying to find the last little bit. The directory. That one little flag, in fact, I think was the only other piece. Yeah, These are all things. Man, I actually changed a lot of files, more than I realized I changed this episode, which is always nice. It's always amazing how you can keep finding things to change. So we're going to use this as for the directory change. I don't know how close it was to that one. Oh, just the insides here. There we go. Let's just make sure there's nothing else left, but I think that was it. Yeah, I already had those functions. The type I'd already changed. The packages we decided not to update. The icons I already had. Looks like that's it. Yep, that's it. So let's go back to the commit list. Oops, that wasn't the commit list. And I think we've done them all. So now I think it's time to demo the photo viewer and then discuss all of this code that makes up the photo viewer. Let's go to the browser and demo how it works. So I'm going to drag in a photo of myself. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm not going to do a photo of myself. For my testing, I was. But let's do a wallpaper. So there's the wallpaper there. Now if I double click it, there we go. Now we have a photo viewer, as you can see, and it's kind of cool. If I make this bigger, you see it'll resize based on that. If I make it bigger here and here, you get it bigger. Can maximize. You see if I hover the buttons, they work like that. The full screen button, I'm a little scared to press it through an OBS stream, but let's try it. Okay, yeah, it didn't work the way I expected it to in the stream. Killed my console. Where did my console go? It totally lost my dev tools for some reason. There we go. So full screen works. It's not great for if you want to stream it to somebody via OBS. But in my testing, it's worked. When I click it, the icon changes to the other icon, and well, I'll explain to you how I'm doing that. So let's see, for zooming, I have the ability to zoom in and out. I have the ability to drag around the image. Oh, interesting. Parts of it aren't working the way I expected. This part didn't quite work how I expected. Yeah, it's supposed to have stopped there. Interesting, because if I try it with another image here, let me try this other image. Oh, is that another bug? Interesting. Okay, that is just an issue with it accessing that. Let's just change this piece here to say that can be like that. I think that was what was missing. Actually, no, what was missing here? Okay, yeah. I'm surprised that actually did that, but it's work in progress, everybody. Let's try this again. We open it. So you see that part's working good, but when I zoom, oh man, that's hard to believe. Well, code that worked before does not seem to be working now. Yeah, this drag zoom stuff was a solved problem. But now it's acting a little wonky again. Wouldn't you know it, hey? Let's try this. I'm going to clear the cache, completely refresh, completely start from scratch here. Let's just try the photo editor one more time, but it looks like not all the bugs are worked out. I'm going to make a note of some bugs. So most of it works okay. We got our title bar too. We got the right icon. Here we're showing the correct title bar as expected, where it's showing the name first, whereas here it shows photo first. Double clicking does the 200% zoom. The percentage of the zoom shows here. That goes back. If you zoom in and then you double click, it unzooms. Zooming works all the way to 700%. Works with the buttons too. And the buttons disable when they reach their maximums. But one issue I was noticing that's just happening now, so I drag here. Yeah, it's not staying in this bound. It's supposed to not go past this. It's working for left. It's working for top. It's not working for bottom or right. That's funny. Yeah, it's funny because I've definitely solved this in the past. Let's just do a quick little play around and see if we can quickly fix it. Well, we need to look at the code anyways, so let's just start digging into the code. So the index app is simple enough. Ignoring this hook here, you just have your basic HTML. So it's cut into 4 pieces. The app, it's the styled app. The top bar, which has the zoom in button and the zoom out buttons. And the zoom in is disabled if it's max zoom. The zoom out is disabled if it's minimum zoom. I've got this basic function here for saying called zoom, where you can say in, out, or toggle currently are the options I allow. For the bottom buttons, we have the full screen button, where if you click on it, it toggles full screen. And if full screen is on, then we see exit. Otherwise, we see full screen. So that's using that basic hook there. And zoom is using the hook here. So we got use drag zoom and use full screen. We'll get into those hooks in a minute. For the figure, the image piece, I had to have references here too to the two pieces so that I could properly do that dragging thing. Not that it's working, but whatever. On the container that holds the image, if you move the wheel mouse, depending on if the delta is negative or positive, we zoom in or out. And if you double click, we toggle the zoom as I displayed. The image itself has its alt tag, which is just the name of the image. It's got a reference here, just like the other one does. It's got 3 references. And the one container reference is used for full screen to say that the container I want a full screen, whereas the container image reference and the image are for doing the drag and resizing. And then on the image itself is where I keep the drag zoom properties of mouse down, mouse drag, mouse up, mouse out. And that's it for the markup. The hook that I have is just in regards to the URL. So once everything's loaded, read the picture, and if there's no problems, set that URL as the source and apply it to the title. Clean up the buffer when you exit. So that's the basics of that part. Now let's get into the hooks. We've already gone through the icons. We'll get to the styling in a second. Actually, let's go to the styling. So as we discussed, it's those 2 navs in the image. So we know the color of the app is basically this color. I've done display flex here so that the buttons, the image and the buttons can kind of display like that, which is the default for flex. I'm doing the typical calculating the height with the title bar that I don't want to have to do long term, the taskbar. It's not even really a taskbar, is it? It's the title bar, but this needs to change one day. I've got padding up and down because there's on the bottom there's a general, oop, I bumped my mic there. There's 32 pixels on the sides and the bottom, and on the top the bar of buttons is 48 pixels. So I've added padding in all of that way around the container. And then yeah, the images, the icons are white. So for the image container, I want the image to be at the center, so it's also flex with these 2 pieces centered. We don't want to show any overflow, so when we zoom out, when we make the image bigger, we don't want to show those pieces on the outside. We cut that out. These are those same margins that I was discussing on this left and right in the bottom. The height is 100% and the width's 100%, just so that it fills the whole window that it's in. And the image never goes above its scale. So the image's max height and width are 100%. It won't go above that if you try to make it smaller. Smaller? Yeah. Sorry, bigger. Bigger or smaller? Hard to say. So much CSS you need to do certain things nowadays. So for the navs, they're also centered. Their height is, like I said, based on that 48 pixel height. They're positioned absolutely, but it depends if it's the top one or the bottom one. So the top one is at the top 0 with full width, and the icon is 16 pixels in the top's case. For full screen, the icon is a 20 pixel icon, and it had to be slightly offset to be perfectly positioned like the other ones were on Windows. And this bottom one is bottom 0, and it's also on the right, and it doesn't need to be 100% width. The buttons themselves, 48. If it's disabled, don't click it. Don't be able to hover over it. It'll show gray. If you hover, we want a different background. And if you're active, if you're clicking down on it, we want an even lighter background. Let's go to the full screen hook first, because that's an easier one to explain. So you know that it returns that full screen Boolean plus the toggle. the toggle says if it's already full screen, then we go document, just exit the full screen. Otherwise, that element that we passed in, the figure that has the image and the buttons, we say to that element, request full screen, and don't hide the navigation, show it as always, because I don't like the person feeling too locked in. And this returns a promise, so I say once it's in full screen, then we say monitor the full screen event, which is this event here. And all it does is if there is a full screen document now element, so it successfully went into full screen, then that's when we set that Boolean as true. And we also create a listener on the document that to monitor for any full screen changes. So if instead of pressing the button to toggle off, the person just presses escape, then it'll trigger this event, which will trigger the exit full screen event. And what exit full screen does is this basically the same. I wonder if this listener kicks in here. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So if I were to exit full screen by clicking the exit full screen button, that also would trigger this event. So this event will always occur when I get out of full screen, either by clicking it or pressing escape. And what it does is it removes that listener and then sets the Boolean as false for full screen. So that's all it does, not too much. But I've integrated this full screen change event and the full screen API. In functions, we already discussed the image files are now clickable. The directory entry has a default height and width. We got that special prepend taskbar title flag in this case. And the last hook is this drag zoom. And I'd like to say I can explain it, but as you've seen, it doesn't actually perfectly work right now, so that's a bit weird. Let's try to do a little bit of messing with, what piece is it here? I wonder if it's related to that math seal. At one point I had it like this, where it was doing math seal. I can't see how this would make a difference, though. No, that really doesn't make sense that that would make any difference at all. I'm just remembering, this was the one part I changed where I thought, I'm fixing it. And if this ended up being what broke it, because these don't round to perfectly round numbers, let's just see if that made any difference at all. So now when we open the picture of me and we zoom in, and I try to go to the right, oh, now I can't move it at all. I feel like it's so flaky, because that math seal worked before. Yeah, now it won't drag at all. What, because of math seal? Yeah, so there's still some tweaking to be done there, unfortunately. I thought I was close here, but on the right it didn't work. That's surprising, because I generalized these two functions. Y and Y, X and X, X, Y, X. Yeah, I wouldn't have expected it to fail. Yet here we are. I think at one point I had this code here. All right, let's just note it as a bug. So let me change this back to the point where I thought it partially worked. So if we zoom in and we go to the left, oh, now it doesn't work at all. Amazing. Yeah, now dragging's not even working. Oh, but wait, now when I full screen it did? But what? And now it's working. Now the things are locked properly. Okay, so something's going on a little bit that needs to be resolved. Because when this is like this, I open the window, I zoom in. Yeah, I can't drag for some reason. I can do double click still, but drag's not working. But then when yeah, that works. I wonder if it's related somehow to what I did here, where I was trying to be all clever. Let's just put this back to being... Actually, let's try this first, because I wanted to try this syntax earlier, and I didn't. But I can't imagine that being the deal breaker. No, that's still not dragging. But what if I were to just apply these in general? I don't think we want that long term. Let's see if that fixes it at least. The conditional application. No, even that didn't do it. Okay, so that's barking up the wrong tree there. I'm getting slightly inconsistent results when it comes to the drag and dropping, unfortunately. Let's clear our cache one more time here. Oh, that means we lost our image. Let's pick another image again. I'll keep using the same one, but unfortunately it seems to give different results. So I zoom in. Yeah, I can't drag. What if I make the window bigger? Oh, now I can. And it doesn't lock to the right again. But if I maximize, now it does. Okay. So there's definitely still some mysteries to be solved in regards to how I'm doing all this insane calculation. Let's get to the part where I talk about the code. But at the same time, let's make a note that dragging's not quite working. Dragging image in photo viewer not working unless maximized. Dragging image doesn't lock to right or bottom edges. So those are the two main issues, and they're pretty minor. Otherwise, it's a decent photo editor, I think. Not an editor, sorry, just a viewer. Let's explain the code now. And we'll be a little bit generous about the code that doesn't work, because I think it was close. At one point, it worked in my tests, but I was doing the wrong tests, obviously. So we got our use drag zoom hook. It returns the drag zoom props, these two booleans, to tell you whether it's fully max zoomed or it's minimal zoomed. We have a reset function that just sets the scale back to 1, and we have the zoom function. Now the zoom props are applied to the element itself. We don't want to show draggable, because if we do, it gives a weird browser effect. We'll just handle dragging ourselves. Mouse down we want, because when they click mouse down, if it's zoomed in a little bit, we're going to allow dragging. So if the scale is greater than 1, then we get the current position of the click down and we save that. Now at the start, I save it twice. So the current position and the position before moving are the same. The idea of this dragging property, though, drag positions I call it, is a starting position and a current position. So once we've set dragging, and dragging is now set, then I have this other boolean here that says if dragging's length is 2, in other words, 2 meaning the current and the, I could just say if it's not 0, actually. Yeah, there we go. So if the length is not 0, wait, what happened here? Use greater than 0. Okay, whatever. If it's greater than 0, my linting rules want me to use greater than, I'm fine with that. Then it's going to do, so when it is dragging, it'll also apply 3 more binded events: the mouse move event, the mouse out event, and the mouse up event. Now, if the mouse is being pushed down and it goes out of its container, or if you unpush it and it goes up, in both those cases, I want to just reset drag, which basically just clears that array and makes it empty. But in the case where I'm moving, that's the important one. So when I'm moving, actually, this is unnecessary then. Yeah, that condition's unnecessary, because this would never trigger if it wasn't dragging. So the gist of this is that I need to get a bunch of positions. Oh, what's this complaining about? It's saying this position here could possibly be empty, which is actually true, but that just means this needs to be doing that, I guess. Was this because of some change I did a second ago? Probably. Usually it's because I messed something up. Oh, maybe that was me checking dragging. Is dragging. Yeah, I think that dragging would always be that because of is dragging, but because here it's not being checked, I need to somehow assert that this is going to be here. I'll just say as drag positions. There we go. So we don't need to check, because we know that this event would only occur if dragging is occurring, but TypeScript doesn't realize that. So we'll just clarify here that dragging is going to be the drag positions. We're going to extract those 2 positions, the current, the start ones, and the last known ones. I also got the bounding box positions for the image and the container of the image, so that when you move it, I can say, oh, the two lefts have collided, so stop resizing there. That's why I have the left, right, top, bottom of the image, and I have the left, right, top, bottom of the containers. Then I have the place where the mouse started being pushed down, and I have the place where it is now, so I can know the deltas, the differences. And I also have the event. Oh no, sorry, there's 3 pieces of information I need. The place it started, the place that last position it was, and the current position. So with the last and the current, I figure out where it's moving. And where does start come into that? Start comes into that for... Where does start come into that? Huh. Do I have no need for this? Well, clearly there's still some thinking to be doing with this, because this doesn't make any sense. I'm just like passing this for no good reason. Yeah. Maybe I don't need to pass this one. There's definitely some rethinking to be done here. I could take this and just pass this as the last positions. And on the first mouse down, we get the first positions here. You know what? I'm going to make another note, because already this code's a little weird. Don't need start X, start Y, question mark. So there's some tweaks to do to this part. I'm not going to say I'm proud about the dragging part, but in general, this photo editor does a lot. So I think we're gonna accept some of this code the way it is. This is completely pointless though. I'm gonna have to remove that, but I don't. To remove that means to change a few other things, and then I'm just wasting everyone's time as I try to figure it out. So the gist of it though is that this is close to making sense. In a perfect world, this sometimes works. So you take the left and the right. You take the left of the container and the left position of the image, and if those plus where I want to move it are less than 0, then that was how I was basing something. Maybe it should be the same here. How come these changed? But were these ever right, honestly? Like, I feel like I've done this a million times where I mess with it. Yeah, now it doesn't drag at all again. And then if I undo that, then it'll drag again, I bet. Now it's just not dragging again? Is that the... Yeah. Oh, right, because I have to make the window bigger? Yeah, I just have to make it a little bit bigger, but there's something else going on there that's making that happen then. Anyways. Yeah, I'm very unhappy with the dragging piece of this, because it's not working come showtime, even though it was in my tests. This is math. It doesn't work, but it looks like math. The idea behind it was that if, for the X position, if the left or right was going to, yeah, if either this way or this way you were dragging it, and it was going to mean going out of the container, then don't do that. Just keep the number the way it was. Otherwise, you can do the translation. It'll be okay. You can do the movement. That idea, I think, works in theory, but either my math is wrong or there needs to be a bit more fine-grained setting here, or using startx properly, because I don't even know why I need it now. Anyways, all of that ends up being this string here. So the visuals of the zooming and the dragging comes down to the translate X, translate Y, and scale, which are all CSS values. So those control the adjustments. As far as the zoom function, it's simple enough. So zoom direction, if it's toggle and the scale was already 1, then we double it. Otherwise, whatever it is, we just set it back to 1. If it was in or out, then we say, okay, is it in? Then you take the scale times a stepping amount, which in this case is 10%, and you increase it by 10%. Or maximum level of zoom, whichever is the smaller number. Now, if it's zoom out, then it's the kind of the opposite of that. You take the scale and you times it by 90. Instead of 10% plus, it's 10% minus. And the way that I do that is taking the 1.1 and minusing it by 2. So 2 minus 1.1, you get 0.9. And 0.9 times something is like removing 10% from it. And here I also say minimum zoom. So don't go below the scale of the 1, which is minimum zoom. Actually, I could use minimum zoom in a few places, maybe. Yeah, probably. Anywhere where it's 1, that's essentially minimum zoom. So I probably should just do that. Then we have less magic numbers. So if the scale equals minimum zoom, then we set it to minimum zoom times 2. Otherwise, we do minimum zoom. If the adjusted scale is minimum zoom, then we just do the base URL. Otherwise, we tell the zoom level when we do zoom. We make it part of the title. And then here we set the scale. What is this? Check bounding recs to keep zoom out inside container. Oh yes, that's a secondary issue that I haven't fixed yet. Let's just cut this out and put this in our next stream episode. So that issue is when if I zoom in and then I move it, then it's not properly checking to make sure it's not out of its size, out of its container, sorry. So there's still quite a bit to do when it comes to the dragging piece. Same with zooming. On the photo viewer, when you zoom, it zooms towards wherever your cursor is. That's another piece I'm missing. So that actually is probably something I'll manage to do here at the same time. Where were those ones I was replacing? Oh yes, here's another one. Oh, if the adjusted scale is the minimum zoom, that's actually what's being checked here. Although, yeah, that's true. That's already what's being checked here. Maybe I could just set it at this stage. I'll say is min zoom equals that. Wait, is that something I actually calculate later too? Oh yeah, that's part of here. Scale equals min zoom. So I'm already using it several times. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just take these two booleans and put them up here as well. Put them right here, let's say. There we go. Even though we only need one of them. So for is min zoom, we can now just use that here and here. Was there anywhere else where we needed to use it? Here we'll just say min zoom. Set the scale to min zoom when we reset scale. And here, if scale is greater than minimum zoom. There we go. That clears out all the ones that were magic numbers. Now let's bring these back in here. So for this, we'll just get rid of the value setting here and we'll just directly use the objects or use the values that have been set up top. Okay, so I don't think that broke the photo editor. So it's still a reasonably good working photo editor. The zoom button works as you'd expect. The zoom mouse wheel works. The dragging piece is so-so. In a perfect world, when it's maximized, the dragging piece seems to work pretty good actually, and it's locking to all the right spots. When you zoom out, it eventually centers, but it's not centering to the cursor the way I'd like. The full screen piece works like you'd expect. You get the padding that you'd expect. So in general, I'm pretty happy with that photo editor, honestly. We'll focus on the drag. We'll clean up all these dragging issues in the next episode. Otherwise, I think I've explained all aspects of this. I've demoed all aspects of it. I think it's time to do a photo viewer commit. And now with doing that, I'd also like to run an ESLint scan just to see what I've broken. Right, we've got our TypeScript version above what they support, but it works okay. I remember this from before. At least it worked okay last time. Now it might totally not, because I'm showing it to people. Let's quickly, well, this is loading. Let's quickly flip back and see. Was there anything else we missed here? I don't think so. I think that's everything for that episode. Let's quickly check. So the ESLint passed. We could use style lint as well to see if there's any styling issues, but it would have caught those along the way anyways. No styling issues either. I think that's it. I think just for another something different to do that I don't usually do in the episode, but I do it at the end, is let's also put the stream notes in this commit as well. So I'm going to open up my public folder, documents, streams, and I'm just going to drag the file right into there. And now it'll be part of our stream notes here, another episode. I'll make that commit added stream notes. And we'll commit that. And I'm going to push these 15 commits that we got here. And I'll even go one more step further to showing you guys behind the scenes. So typically right after I end an episode, I'll switch branches just to make sure I don't write to the other branch. So I'll go create new, redo dash episode 38. And then that's the branch I'll work on for the rest of this week until I see you guys next week. And that's it for this episode. So thank you guys for tuning in to another one. I hope you liked my video. If you did, please throw me a like. If you want to support me, please subscribe. If you had any comments, questions, concerns, criticisms, that kind of thing, throw them in the comments because the live chat's over. Thank you, Tommy, for your message, and anyone else who wanted to check me out throughout the video. And that's it. So we're going to end it on a high note here, and thank you guys for checking out the stream. Goodbye.